It is Overreaction Monday after the Steelers took that embarrassing loss at home versus the San Francisco 49ers in Week 1 of the 2023 NFL season. I got 5 overreactions that I'm seeing on Steelers Twitter that I want to address and kind of maybe debunk a little bit. I'll tell you whether I think it's reasonable or if I think it's an overreaction. But before I get into those today, make sure you like today's video if you want the Steelers to bounce back in Week 2 versus the Cleveland Browns. You think this was kind of a flash in the pan? The Steelers are going to get off on the right foot here in Week 2? Go ahead, click that thumbs up icon right now. Now let's start with the first overreaction here, which is that Kenny Pickett is a bad NFL quarterback and a bona fide bust at this point in his NFL career. Now, my take on this, I think it's an overreaction for now, right? I mean, if you watched yesterday's watch party, you know I was ripping Kenny Pickett's game because plain and simply, he was awful. He was terrible yesterday at Exeter Stadium. You know, you're expecting the kid to take a big step forward here in year 2 of his NFL career. And yesterday, 31 of 46, 232 yards passing, a touchdown, and 2 picks, but it really should have been 3 picks. Fred Warner dropped a pretty easy interception. I still have to go through the film to really give you guys my full take on Kenny Pickett. But based on what I've seen from what Kenny Pickett did yesterday, it was just absolutely awful. I mean, you just can't go around that. And he was the worst part of the Pittsburgh Steelers offense yesterday. Now, it's just one bad game, though, okay? There's a lot of truth in that. But if he doesn't show major improvements here over the next couple of weeks and as the season goes on, and he continues to play poorly and frankly like a rookie throughout this season, the Steelers are going to have a really difficult choice here come next offseason if he can't really prove himself to be the franchise quarterback of this football team. Now, is that a prediction? No. I'm really hoping, and I'm still expecting Kenny Pickett to play better as the season goes on. He was put in a really tough situation yesterday. His left tackle, Dan Moore Jr., was the lowest graded offensive tackle in the NFL for Week 1, at least to this point. So, he's always under pressure again. He had Deontay Johnson left with an injury. The defense knows that he's passing. He was just behind the 8 ball from the very beginning, but that doesn't really that doesn't really justify the wide misses that he had, right? He was missing guys by like yards yesterday, and they weren't particularly difficult throws. And what made it even worse is that those poor throws were on very crucial downs, which scares me quite a bit here heading into the rest of this 2023 season. But let me know what your confidence level is in Kenny Pickett down there in the comments section. Put your confidence level in him on a scale of 0 to 10 down there in the comments section, and this is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. Take advantage of that time by telling me how you feel about the Steelers signal caller. My confidence level in Kenny right now is at a 5. Now, that might seem low to some of you out there. That might seem high to some of you out there after yesterday's performance. I still think that he's capable of going out there and playing more like we saw from the preseason Kenny Pickett versus Week 1 Kenny Pickett. But, man, yesterday was that first performance against a legit NFL starting defense, and it didn't look any better than it did back in his rookie season. That scares me quite a bit, but I'll still put it at a 5 because I really want to believe Kenny Pickett has what it takes to make it in this league. Now let's move on to the second overreaction today, which is that it is finally time to fire offensive coordinator Matt Canada even after Week 1. Now, once again, I'm going to say this is an overreaction for now, because I think there's a real possibility here that Matt Canada gets fired not only after this season, but in the middle of the season, right? If this kind of production, if this lack of production continues for the black and gold on offense this year, and you're getting to Week 6 and you're sitting at like 1-5 or 2-4, and you're not getting over 20 points a game at that point, it might be time to give Matt Canada the boot, because we've seen it now. This is his 3rd year as the offensive coordinator. He has the talent that he needs to make this a good offense, and he hasn't done it yet in 3 years. He needs to get this thing going, man, because it's just an absolute clown show right now. It's just a clown show. I mean, there's no other way I can put it. But, the reality of the situation is that you can't put all of the blame on Matt Canada for this Week 1 loss, at least in my opinion. Kenny Pickett, just wasn't accurate yesterday. Plain and simply for most of the football game, was not good on 3rd down, multiple wide misses on those 3rd down opportunities. And to Canada's credit, he schemed guys open in those opportunities. He can't throw the football. for Kenny Pickett in those instances. Now, I have a feeling that when I go over the film this week, I'm going to see a pretty vanilla, bland offense that didn't do Kenny Pickett any favors, just like I saw last year on the film. But at the end of the day, I don't think you can put all the blame on Matt Canada. In this one, Kenny Pickett definitely is carrying some of that weight as well. Now, my take on Canada is that, I've been critical of him throughout this entire process, but I'm not down to fire him after 1 week of the 2023 season. Good teams don't make decisions like that. I know that we've seen Canada's offense as just one of the worst in the National Football League over the last 3 seasons, but you got to give them at least 4 to 6 weeks before you even consider firing, right? After 1 week against a good defense, you got to just say, it was a bad week, and hopefully you come out against the Cleveland Browns and Matt Canada and Kenny Pickett can have this team rolling here heading into the rest of the 2023 season. Now, coming up here, I got more week one overreactions that I'm going to break down with you guys. But first, let's have a word from our sponsor. Today's Steelers Talk video is sponsored by AG1. I drink AG1 literally every day, and I love it. Get comprehensive and convenient daily nutrition at drinkag1.com/chat sports. I gave AG1 a try because I wanted more sustained energy throughout my day and wanted a supplement that actually tastes great. Here are some of the benefits of the daily uses of AG1. It promotes gut health, it supports immunity, and it boosts your focus and energy. So if you have a busy schedule like mine, you can absolutely power through your day. I have AG1 in the morning, and it makes me feel ready to take on my day. AG1 combines all of your key health products in one convenient and tasty beverage. And in my line of work, guys, sometimes you have to put in those long hours. So AG1 helps me feel energized and sharp so I can be at my best no matter how busy my schedule gets. Covering my nutritional basis for the day literally couldn't be any easier, which is why I trust AG1. I just mix 1 small scoop of AG1 with 12 ounces of water and drink it first thing each morning. Done. Simple. Easy. I also like that it costs less than $3 a day, which is pretty darn good if you ask me. It's a really effective daily habit with the highest quality source ingredients, which is a win-win for you and your health. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplemental routine, then AG1 is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/chat sports. That's drinkag1.com/chat sports. Check it out. The links are in the comments and description of today's video. Number 3 on my list is TJ Watt should be the early favorite to be the Defensive Player of the Year in the National Football League for 2023. And for me, this one is pretty reasonable. I don't think that's an overreaction whatsoever. When the team was down yesterday, he really came up big and he really tried to keep this team in the football game. You take a look at his bio here over the last couple of seasons. In week 1, 5 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 3 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. Absolutely fantastic performance by the former Defensive Player of the Year back there in 2021, where he tied the NFL single-season record for sacks in a single season with 22.5. And then right now, with these 3 sacks, he's sitting at 80.5 sacks for his career and 25 forced fumbles. By the way, 80.5 sacks is tied with James Harrison for the most in Steelers history. I expect him to break that record versus the Browns here on Monday night. And plain simply, guys, when healthy, TJ Watt, at least in my opinion, because he's bringing to the table sack production and turnover production, he's the most valuable defender in the National Football League when he is out there and he is fully ready to go. He proved that yesterday against the San Francisco 49ers. I think he's going to prove it throughout this season. I think he should be held as a favorite to win the Defensive Player of the Year trophy here heading into the 2023 season. Now, let me know what you guys think about the superstar edge rusher down there in the comments. Is TJ Watt the best defensive football player on the planet Earth today? Give me a yes or give me a no. Let me know how you're feeling down there in the comments. My 4th overreaction of the day today. The Steelers need to fire Mike Tomlin if they want to be successful again and win another Super Bowl. For me, this one is a big-time overreaction. I think Mike Tomlin, he's someone that's been there before. He's led a team to the Super Bowl. And if you're out there and you're saying, well, it was Bill Cowher's team that he brought to the Super Bowl. Here's the thing, man. If you're a bad head coach in the National Football League, you are not winning a Super Bowl. You are not lucking into a Super Bowl in the best football league on the planet. I don't care who is on the roster. You got to have a good roster. You got to have good coaching. Mike Tomlin held up his end of the deal, which is why they won that Super Bowl, and that's why they went to another one against the Green Bay Packers. So I think the big thing with Mike Tomlin right now is that you have to give criticism where it's due, okay? You know, the leader has to take responsibility, right? If the offense isn't working, if the quarterback isn't playing up to standard, that's on Mike Tomlin because he's making those hires and he's a big voice in that front office making the decision to go draft Kenny Pickett. So if Matt Canada and Kenny Pickett are failures, that's on the head coach. I'm not trying to say that it's not. But I think that he's proved over his tenure here in Pittsburgh that he's one of the best head coaches in the National Football League. And I know a big criticism of Coach T is that he hasn't won a playoff game in a while. But let's face it, he hasn't had a Super Bowl caliber quarterback on his roster for a little while now. Now, I know you're going to say, oh, Big Ben, what about Big Ben? Well, it's like Big Ben, towards the end of his career, was deteriorating by the end of seasons. He could barely throw the ball 20 yards towards the end of his career when they made it to the playoffs, right? Having a quarterback that limited, are you really expecting to beat the Patrick Mahomeses of the world and the best football teams on the planet with that kind of quarterback play at the end of the season? I'm certainly not blaming Mike Tomlin for that. You know, there's definitely a couple of losses that are stains on his playoff record. I'm not trying to hide behind those whatsoever. But in my opinion, if you can put the right quarterback in this system, in this environment with Mike Tomlin, who can get the most out of an NFL roster year in and year out. If you can find that quarterback that's a Super Bowl caliber guy, whether it's Kenny Pickett or somebody else, I believe Mike Tomlin can not only get this team back to the postseason, but he can get them back to the Super Bowl and get this team back to being the standard in the National Football League. Now let's get to my final overreaction here is that the Pittsburgh Steelers cannot win the AFC North in 2023. And just like my fourth overreaction, I think this one is a blatant overreaction. I think the Steelers could absolutely still win this division. You look at kind of the struggles that some of the other teams in this division had over the weekend, right? The Bengals, Joe Burrow had 45% completion percentage. Deshaun Watson with the Browns didn't play overly great. I don't think he's going to play good against this Steelers defense on Monday Night Football. And then also the Baltimore Ravens. That offense didn't look great against the Houston Texans either. So nobody in the AFC North really wowed, really shined in week one. And I'd look at a guy like Mike Tomlin, who is the head of this organization. I look at this defense with so much talent, including the likes of TJ Watt and Minkah Fitzpatrick. I absolutely think that once the Steelers can, not go down by 2 scores right off the bat in a football game, and they're allowed to run the ball more, and they're allowed to do more play action and all these different things that have a more balanced attack on offense, I think better things are on the horizon for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think this was a really bad example of not being ready to go week one. I thought Kenny Pickett had a really bad game, but I think that overall this roster is still good enough to ascend to first place in the AFC North and get this team back in the playoffs for 2023. But let me know what you guys think about this roster after that week one loss versus the 49ers. Where will the Steelers finish in the AFC North here in 2023? Give me a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4. I certainly believe in the Steelers still, even though week one was terrible. Let me know how you're feeling down there in the comments section. All right, so tomorrow I'm going to be doing my week 2 preview for the Steelers versus Browns matchup on Monday Night Football. If you don't want to miss that or any of our previews or any of our Steelers content for free here on the channel, make sure you click that subscribe button for me right now and join our family, which just passed 30,000 subscribers. So thank you to everybody that is subscribed. Wouldn't be here without you, so I really do want to extend my gratitude for the support that you give us here at Steelers Talk. That'll be it for me today, guys. I will see you guys tomorrow. And until then, here we go, Steelers.